my channel. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Shawna. If you're not new, thank you for coming back. So today's video, as you could tell from the title, is just some random stuff about living in Cuba that I thought would be like interesting to note. I haven't done a Cuba video in a while, like one where I like discuss whatever about Cuba. So I just felt like maybe I should do one. The ones that are about like how to study in Cuba, what to expect as an international student, those do really well. So we go do this one. Hopefully you guys will like this one. So the first thing to note, these are all things I wish I knew before I started school. Not that it would have swayed me, but just things to prepare for. The first thing, if you are a girl, and if you are a guy and you're trying to grow your hair too, hard water. For those of you who don't know what hard water is like a buildup of calcium. There's minerals in water that like flow through your pipes and such. Sometimes the rust from the pipes, they're not like the proper pipes. Sometimes the calcium and the rust builds up in the water, and the water is described as hard water. It's just abundance of minerals in your water that comes out through the pipe. Sometimes you'll see the little calcium on the, what is that called? The shower head. So they have it bad in Cuba, like bad. Especially, it depends on the community and like area where you live, but where you're probably going to be doing your first year as a prep student, if you're not a scholarship student for Jamaica, is in Kohimar. Kohimar has hard water like nobody's business. That damages your hair. Bad. Your hair might thin out from the hard water. It's very likely. So prepare for that. Your skin will break out like no one's business. I'm going to insert a picture of my skin in like first year when I left Cuba and I was on vacation. By the time when it already like destroyed my skin in first year. So your skin might break out, your hair might thin. How do you combat against thinning hair? For my recommendation, go with biotin pills. Like go with an abundance of biotin pills. Like bring like how many ever months you're going to need. Biotin pills are like 1,000 something. Bring like 10 months worth of biotin pills and make sure you take your biotin pills every day. It's going to thicken up your hair, so even if your hair does break in some parts, it will start building back from the root again. So travel with your biotin pill, travel with your hair products. Oh, that's another thing. The hair products that they have there aren't really for our hair type. So travel with your hair products. I always buy my hair products before and then I bring them up with me. Seating on the bus. So this one is actually really interesting. A lot of people didn't know this. I have a friend who we've lived in Cuba for like 3 years and he didn't know this until like last year. The seating on the bus. So how the bus is organized, it's like there's seats and then there's space in the middle normally where people will stand. So some of the seats are blue, the color blue, and some of the seats have yellow on them. The seats that have yellow on them are for elderly people, pregnant people, or people with disabilities. You're allowed to sit in them if like the bus is packed and like no one of those three categories or no one of those three groups or types of people are on the bus. But if you're sitting in a yellow seat and an elderly person walks on the bus, they're not even asking you to move. They're walking straight up to you, like to go into the seat. So this happened to me. You need to get up and cut. Like they literally, sometimes they won't even acknowledge you. The old ladies came on. She didn't even say jack to us. She just walked straight up to where me and my friend were sitting. She and her friend, and just like to walk into the seat. And we just knew like, all right, let's move. So there's that. If a pregnant person comes on the bus, it's the same thing. You're expected to get up. If you are sitting in a blue seat, that is for everyone. You don't have to move. So you use your conscience and your discretion. If a pregnant person, an elderly person, or a disabled person comes on, if you want to give them a seat and all the yellow seats are occupied by people who they're supposed to be occupied by, you can give up your seat. So, but you don't have to. Which I've been on the bus and seen a lot of times where that happens, and people will be like, there's an elderly person on the bus, there's a pregnant woman on the bus, there's a disabled person on the bus, and all the people in the blue seats looking like, I don't have to move, so I'm moving. And they just kind of have to deal. Bipolar weather. I obviously I'm Caribbean, I'm Jamaican. Been Jamaican my whole life. I've lived in Jamaica my whole life. Jamaica is a tropical country. We have a tropical climate. Sometimes, just sometimes, it rains. And sometimes we get a hurricane, sometimes we get a cold front. Right? Cold front is usually the closest we get to having cold weather. So I thought that with moving to Cuba, it's the same weather I'm about to experience. Like, it's right there, they're right above us. So the same weather. I didn't go with any cold weather clothes or anything like that. My first year in Cuba, when winter came around, I was freezing my ass off. And the reason for that is mainly because of where I lived at the time in my first year. Because now where I live in Cuba, when it comes down to December, I think it's not as cold. But where I lived before, one, it was close to the sea, and two, it was in the countryside. The weather there gets colder. When I tell you, I really thought I was abroad, like living like snow. It was cold where I would consider that like it wasn't like close to snow weather. Like snow weather is like 0 degrees, and then like it's snowing like minus 0 degrees. But outside felt like AC, like all the time. When we go to school and you're having class and you're bored and thing, the little breeze lick you, you're ready for sleep. Like it was so cold. It has never been that cold in Jamaica. Has never been that cold in Jamaica. So when I went, and that was when I was so shocked. The following year, I came well prepared. Brought all my winter stuff up with me, and then I had moved, so it wasn't as cold as in Kohimar like my first year. So prepare for that. You will have a culture shock because you are in a Caribbean country, but you're also in a Caribbean country that is closer to the US, so the winds come down when it snows and when it gets cold. Another thing about their bipolar weather, it will be sunshine all day, and as you step outside start rain for no reason. Like there will be no clouds, no indication, no nothing, and it just stopped pouring. And then as it stops pouring, you get back inside, the sun comes out, and then it pours again. Cuba literally has the most bipolar weather I have ever experienced in my entire life. I don't know why it's like this, but just prepare for this. I talked about this one in previous videos, like things, how to prepare to study in Cuba. I do remember talking about this, but people kiss as a greeting in Cuba. That's their culture. Like it's called besos, which besos in Cuban, besos in Spanish is kiss. It means kiss. So like someone will walk up to you, they'll put their cheek on your cheek, and they'll make a kissing sound. Sometimes you'll be walking on the road as a female or whatever, and a guy might ride past like on a bicycle or whatever, and he'll like kiss after you. It's not the same as like if you're getting catcalled in Jamaica and then kiss after you and you're uncomfortable. Usually they're saying hi. You just say hi and move on. It's not as bad. If there's nothing else in the market, there's rum. If nothing else is in the people them store, there is a rum. There's white rum, there's brown rum, there's all the rum that you will ever, I'm not gonna say need because you're not supposed to need rum, but all the rum you could ever want, if that's your preference. There's always alcohol in the store. All of them that have bottled water, them have alcohol. So prepare for that. And yes, that does happen. Sometimes there's no water at the store. Sometimes you can't always find food in one place. So they'll have a supermarket, various ones around the place. They'll have market and then they'll have a supermarket. A market, mercado, is smaller than like the supermercado, obviously, but it's not like market like what we know in Jamaica, like an agricultural market. They have those too, but the market is just like a smaller shop where they'll sell like different stuff. Sometimes you'll go, there's sausage, just like ice cream, there's rice, there's pasta, always pasta. Sometimes there's juice, sometimes there's water, sometimes there's fruits. There's always rum in all of them. Supermercado and the mercado, always rum. Sometimes there's milk, sometimes there's not milk, but you won't always find what you're looking for. Sometimes you'll go somewhere with the intention to get food, and what you went looking for, they don't have it there. They might have it at the other supermarket, or they just might not. You could be walking up and down and you don't find it at like 5 places. Sometimes that's just how stuff works, and they can't tell you when they'll get back stuff in stock. They just don't know. It's based off whatever is sent, and whatever you see in the market, you just pick up. So certain things, when you see them in the supermarket, you buy them in bulk. So for example, me, if I see milk, which milk has become very scarce for like the past year. If you walk in the supermarket and you see milk, like the carton milk, we'll buy like 5 at a time or like 3 at a time. We'll buy, each time we go to the market, we'll buy like 3. Because milk be very scarce. I remember one time there was no milk, no cereal in Havana for months. And we went to a different province, which provinces in Cuba are like parishes. And we went into a mercado that was inside of a hotel because we were on vacation. We went for like a trip. And there was milk. We went to the beach, milk. And we bought like 4 bottles of milk. Like, and we had to go all the way to a different province to purchase milk to be able to eat with our cornflakes in Havana. So when you see things, buy them up, especially if they're things that are seasonal or you can't really find them as often and you like them. Just buy it, trust me. There is a WhatsApp group for everything. I really didn't realize this until this year, when I befriended people who are friends with Cubans at our school and stuff, because I don't really talk to people like that unless like I know you, and I usually keep to myself. So I befriended people who are open, like extroverted, talk to everybody and everything. There's a WhatsApp group for everything in Cuba. There's a WhatsApp group for people to deliver food to your house. I don't mean like fast food, like stuff that you could get from the agricultural market. Like if you don't like going to the market, which is me, I get anxiety from being in like an open public space like that. There's a WhatsApp group where you can order it from a lady. She'll deliver it to your house. There's a WhatsApp group for phones. There's a WhatsApp group for pet food, which I still have in my phone for when I do decide to get my dog. There's a WhatsApp group for every single thing. There's a WhatsApp group for clothes. You could order things and everything through WhatsApp and get it delivered to your house. WhatsApp group for everything in Cuba. This one is one that really irked me and is a weird thing, and I feel like as an international student you wouldn't really know unless you were there during this period, and this was the first time I was ever there. Everything is closed on New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. Like restaurants, everything, every single thing locked. Like it was the most annoying thing ever. I spent my first Christmas and New Year's in Cuba 2019. New Year's 2019, Christmas 2018. I was abandoned by my parents and left in the country as punishment. And like, my plan was to just order in food and stay home. I didn't really want to go anywhere. I just wanted to order in food and stay home. I started calling places at like 4 o'clock in the evening because I was like, all right, a lot of people probably go order food. People are usually having parties. So let me get ahead of it so my food can come in time. I'm calling places at 4 p.m. in the evening. Tell me why them and tell me said the place locked from 2 o'clock. From 2 p.m. the place is closed. I asked why. They're like, it's New Year's Eve. I'm like, what? Everywhere is open on New Year's Eve. Like people go, you're not home. I have a friend who's in Cuba who always tells me, you're not home. Whenever things happen and you're like, that don't make no sense, you're supposed to remember that you're not home. Things don't operate the way how things would operate when you're home. When you're in Jamaica, when you're abroad, everywhere stays open on New Year's Eve. Everywhere, most places are closed on New Year's Day, but everywhere is open on New Year's Eve for business. Not in Cuba, love. Everywhere was locked. Nowhere had food. Everywhere that I went, everywhere I called everywhere. All of my usual ordering places. Some places I haven't even ordered before. Everywhere was closed, and all of them were for the same reason. It's New Year's Eve. They're closed. It didn't make any sense to me. I was very sad. I was very annoyed. Only one place was open, and it was the most expensive place on my street for food. I went there, ordered food, and my housemate came home and was like, I want to go out, come with me. So I didn't even get to enjoy New Year's Eve the way, but note that everywhere is closed on New Year's Eve. If you don't have to stay in Cuba for New Year's Eve, go your country. Another thing, I feel like this is pretty long. There's a lot of random stuff. There is a line to wait for the bus. When you get to the bus stop, usually you'll see people either sitting down, sometimes people are lined up in the line. Most of the times when they're sitting down, they don't really get up to form the line until the bus comes around to the actual stop. But when you get there and you see people sitting down, what you do is you call out ultimo, and ultimo means the last person in Spanish. And normally somebody will say yo, which means I'm the last person, and you'll say I'm behind you. And you are now the person who listens out for if another person comes and says ultimo, you'll say yo, and they'll know that they're behind you. That's how you find out who is behind, how far the line goes and who's behind everyone. That is important, because when the bus comes, sometimes there's like argument, disagreement. Sometimes people are like, no, I was in front of this person, I was in front of that person. It's really important to know who was standing in front of you and who was standing behind you, so that you can know where your place is when argument and things start. Take it from experience. We have all been through the abuse. Know who is in front of you, know who's behind you, because if you don't know, the anxiety will kill you from the problems that you experience, trust me.